tax freight train is bearing down on your retirement. To protect yourself, you'll have to harness the power of zero.
Hey folks, this is David McKnight. Welcome to the Power of Zero show. We are back for another consecutive week, and we are homing in on episode number 100. Hard to believe that we're closing in on having done this podcast for 2 solid years. For those of you who are new to the podcast, feel free to go back through our back catalog, and there's all sorts of intriguing episodes that talk about every possible facet of the Power of Zero paradigm. As I am the best-selling author of the Power of Zero, Look Before You LIRP, the Volatility Shield, and soon to be released, and by soon in November 17th, Tax-Free Income for Life. I think that you guys are going to like this book the best of any book I've written so far, because it really encapsulates the entire Power of Zero paradigm, really my grand unified theory for retirement planning. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. As last week, I unveiled the 12 principles for a happy retirement, principles 1 through 6. We're going to talk about principles 7 through 12 today. These aren't in any particular order, I have to warn you. So it's not like these proceed in a sort of a modular way. But they're all important. They're all central to the Power of Zero philosophy. Just as a brief reminder, last week we talked about principles 1 through 6. The first principle was mitigate longevity risk with an income and annuity, not through the 3% rule in the stock market. Number 2, when you use an income annuity, you only need to cover your basic living expenses with that income annuity. And when coupled with your Social Security or whatever other residual streams of income that are guaranteed, that are flowing into your life, that should cover your entire lifestyle expense. Number 3, don't use just any old annuity to mitigate longevity risk. You got to have an annuity that has a guaranteed lifetime income feature, allows for inflation protection, gives you liquidity in the years prior to electing your guaranteed lifetime income feature, and then finally has a death benefit feature. The 4th thing that you need to have a happy, successful retirement is it's important to know that you cover discretionary expenses with your stock market assets in your LIRP. That is where you're going to be drawing money for aspirational expenses, shock expenses that will invariably arise over the course of a 30-year retirement. Be sure to always take money out of your stock market when the stock market is up, but take it out of your LIRP when the stock market is down. And in years 11 plus, you want to wait until years 11 plus before you access your LIRP. Never withdraw assets from a stock portfolio following a down year. Those are just great rules to live by that will contribute to your happiness in retirement. Number 5, always draw your guaranteed inflation-adjusted lifetime income from your tax-free bucket. And to do that, you'll need to have an annuity that has a piecemeal internal Roth conversion feature. Give yourself 5 or 6 years where you can convert the money in that annuity to a Roth IRA, withdraw that money from your Roth IRA so that you do not expose yourself to tax rate risk or the risk of Social Security taxation, both of which can force you to spend down all your other assets that much faster. And finally, number 6, when you purchase an LIRP, one of your primary motivations should be the chronic illness rider. You need to be able to mitigate one of the single greatest threats to your retirement, that is long-term care. But also be sure that LIRP allows you to build cash for discretionary spending on a very favorable basis. That money needs to grow safely and productively. If you can lose a lot of money in your stock market inside your LIRP, that opens you up to the possibility of your money going into a death spiral from which it may not be able to recover. All right, so that brings us up to principles 7 through 12. So let's jump right in. Principle number 7, this is something that I really drive at in my new book, Tax-Free Income for Life. You want to use a time segmented investing approach to grow your assets safely and productively during the time period in which you are doing your piecemeal internal Roth conversion. Remember, the idea is you put money into your guaranteed lifetime income annuity, but that you then convert it to a Roth IRA over a 5 to 6 year period. If you are already retired and you're doing this Roth conversion in your annuity, you're not going to be able to touch that annuity till the Roth conversion period is up. So what are you going to live off of during that 5 to 6 year period when you're waiting for that conversion to be complete? If you leave everything in your stock market portfolio. You leave it in the market, you risk succumbing to sequence of return risk, which means that you could be forced to take money out of your stock market portfolio when that stock market is down, which could send your stock market portfolio into a death spiral from which it never recovers. So time segmented investing simply says, look, we know we're going to need money 2 years from now and 3 years from now and 4 years from now. Let's create portfolios that have bonds that have maturities that mature based on the time period in our lives when we're going to need that money. So money that you won't need for 6 years, you can take more risk with that money. And if it's primarily a bond type portfolio, you're not going to risk major losses in that portfolio while you're taking money out of that portfolio. If it's in the stock market and you need to fund your first 6 years of retirement, that's the danger zone, folks. That's when you can't afford to have any stock market risks. So time segmented investing essentially allows you to grow your money safely and productively during that piecemeal internal Roth conversion feature. You can't afford to have to rely on the stock market to fund your living expenses during that Roth conversion period. All right, principle number 8, we want to take, so there's really 2 ways that you're growing your money that's not in the LIRP. You're growing your money that's not in either the LIRP or the annuity. You're growing it in your time segmented portfolios, but you're also growing it in the stock market. Whatever money does not go into the annuity or the LIRP or the time segmented portfolio needs to go into a stock market portfolio that is aggressive. This is pedal to the metal type investing because we're not going to need to access this money until way down the road. Okay, so we give ourselves a permission slip since we have guaranteed our living expenses with that guaranteed lifetime income annuity that's coming out of our Roth IRA. Because we've guaranteed our lifetime expenses, we aren't going to be required to take money out of that portfolio. Because we have the LIRP, we have the luxury of taking money out of the LIRP during a down year in the stock market, giving that stock market the ability to recover. So we can take all sorts of risk in that stock market portfolio because we have all sorts of backup plans that are in place. We have a permission slip to take much more risk in that stock market portfolio. Principle number 9 for a happy and successful retirement. You need to have multiple streams of tax-free income, none of which show up on the IRS's radar, but all of which contribute to you being in the 0% tax bracket. People love to come up to me at the end of my presentations. I actually did a live presentation last week. It's the first one I've done in 5 months, probably the last one I'll do between now and the end of the year, honestly, unless something miraculous happens with COVID. But people came up to me and they said, Dave, you talked about having 4 to 6 different streams of tax-free income. Where are these tax-free streams of income coming from? And I say, look, there's all sorts of different streams of tax-free income, only one of which is the LIRP. You could have a Roth IRA, a Roth conversion, a Roth 401k. You can use the Roth conversion to shrink your IRA down to the point where required minimum distributions are offset by standard deductions. You got your LIRP. And if you can keep your provisional income low enough, then your Social Security can also be tax-free. We love to see between 4 and 6 different streams of tax-free income. Don't have all your eggs in one basket, because if the IRS changes some rules on you somewhere down the road, there goes that basket, right? So you want to have multiple streams of tax-free income. And all of these different streams of tax-free income have different benefits, unique qualities that make them an essential part of your approach to tax-free retirement. Have all of them. Why focus on just one? They all have purposes and play a role in you getting to the 0% tax bracket. Number 10, don't take Social Security until you're ready to draw income from your guaranteed lifetime income annuity. If you start Social Security before that, now granted, if you've gotten a notice from your doctor saying that you're going to die in the next 10 years, number one, an annuity wouldn't be a good thing for you, guaranteed lifetime income annuity anyway. And also you should probably take your Social Security right away. You want to get the money out of it that you put into it and do it as quickly as possible if you have a very short life expectancy. But if you have put money into a guaranteed lifetime income annuity, you probably have some sense that you're going to be living at least as long as the average person, if not longer. Therefore, you should be pushing off your Social Security as long as you can, and at the very least, until you have completed your piecemeal internal Roth conversion. Remember, the idea is that you want to use the income coming out of your annuity when coupled with your Social Security to cover, and whatever other guaranteed lifetime income streams you have, to cover your entire lifestyle living expense. You want to push Social Security off at least until you have finished converting your piecemeal internal Roth conversion. That way, your Social Security comes to you tax-free. You've pushed it off, so the income that's going to be coming to you is going to be even higher because it will have adjusted for inflation. Plus, based on Social Security's actuarial tables, that money is going to be substantially higher by the time you take it at 66 or even 70. So you want to push that off. Don't be tempted to take that Social Security while you are converting your IRA to a Roth IRA. All right, principle number 11. Identify the ideal balances in your taxable and tax-deferred buckets and shift everything else systematically to tax-free. Remember, and the thing that makes this Power of Zero paradigm unique is that in a rising tax rate environment, there is an ideal amount of money to have in your taxable and tax-deferred bucket. Let me repeat that. In a rising tax rate environment, there's an ideal amount of money to have in your taxable and tax-deferred bucket. Everything else should be systematically repositioned as tax-free. Notice I didn't say reposition all at once or all in 1 year. It needs to be repositioned in a piecemeal way over time, and preferably before tax rates go up for good in 2026, which means that as of right now, you have 6 years within which to get those assets, those surplus assets in the taxable and tax-deferred bucket, repositioned to tax-free. So identify ideal balances, reposition whatever surplus in a systematic way over time into the tax-free bucket. And principle number 12 for a successful and happy retirement. Get all your asset shifting done before tax rates go up for good, which means that you have to know what your magic number is, how much money you should be shifting each and every year between now and 2026. You need to know that your shifting horizon, or that 6-year period of time, will allow you to get all of that shifting done between now and then. Now, if you have $4 million in your IRA or $5 million in your IRA, it may make sense to stretch that out over a longer period of time. But for the most part, the people that we run into, you want to try to get that heavy lifting done before tax rates go up for good in 2026. If it spills over into 2027, 2028, not the end of the world, I probably wouldn't wait until 2030. And given COVID, probably 2029 at this point, you want to get all the heavy lifting done before then. Those are the last 6 principles for a successful and happy retirement. I'm trying to help you understand and come to a greater, more focused understanding of what are the principles that you can implement that will shield you from both longevity risk and tax rate risk. Remember, lots of people know how to mitigate longevity risk. It just takes an annuity, or it just takes saving a lot of money in the stock market and only taking out 3% per year. Lots of people know how to mitigate tax rate risk. You just have to be able to reposition surplus dollars in your taxable and tax-deferred bucket to tax-free, and doing it systematically in a way that makes sense. It's not going to cause you to pay too much tax along the way. But how about mitigating both of those risks within the very same financial plan? Unless you have the ability to do that, you're going to have a hard time being fully at peace with your retirement plan. You've got to be able to mitigate both of those risks within the very same retirement plan, or you are always going to be looking over your shoulder in retirement, and nobody wants to look over their shoulder in retirement. Nobody wants to say, hey, look, I sure hope I have enough money to last until I die, or, hey, I have enough money to last till I die so long as, and meet my basic lifestyle expenses, so long as tax rates don't go up. If tax rates go up, if they double over time, I'm toast, because that income annuity is only going to provide me half as much as I thought it would. So you really, to have a happy, successful retirement, you really need to be able to mitigate both of these risks. And if you don't, you have a hole in your financial plan. Which leads me to my next point. If you're looking for someone to help you mitigate both of those risks, get to the 0% tax bracket, get a guarantee that your income will last as long as you do. Head over to davidmcknight.com. Happy to hook you up with an advisor in your area that can help you, a qualified, vetted, trained by me advisor, by the way, who has passed all of our most stringent qualifications and who comes personally recommended by me. Go over to davidmcknight.com and we'd be happy to help you out with that. And if you are an advisor who wants to be a trained, vetted, qualified, official Power of Zero advisor, then you can head over to powerofzero.com. That's it for today. Again, if you want to follow me on Twitter, please do. Would appreciate a follow. It's at McKnight & Co. At McKnight & Co. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's David C. McKnight. David C. McKnight. I hope you guys are doing great in this COVID-19 reality. Think about all you guys, and especially appreciative of all the support you've given us as we now approach our 100th episode. Talk to you same time next week.